What's up, guys? Welcome back to another patch analysis video. This time around, this one's going to be a little bit more discussing what the actual patch is going on, my thoughts about it. I've had obviously a couple days to play it now, about a week, and definitely have finalized, I think, my thoughts on it. I'm actually going to take a second at the end of the video and talk about the competitive meta. I don't know how YouTube works. I'm going to try to have like a link or something somewhere to just, if you want to hear my thoughts on the competitive meta, you don't care how I feel about the patch, that's cool. That'll probably be in like description or something if you just want to skip right to that. But we're gonna do a little bit of both now. I really like it. This is definitely kind of in the wheelhouse of what I wanted them to do a little bit of, in terms of like shaking up the meta by doing some like just crazy legend balances. I feel like this is what was missing in maybe like season 4, maybe at the beginning of season 5. So to get something like this, honestly, this is exactly what I kind of wanted them to do after a little while. Because as much as I really like the safety net, at least competitively, of Wraith, Pathfinder, Watson, Gibraltar, etc., those variations of that comp, as much as being a competitive player, that felt really good to play in that meta. I understand the desire especially from like the viewer standpoint of people wanting to mix it up. And my biggest thing is I play a lot of ranked, sometimes play a lot of pubs as well. It's nice to have more legends that are actually usable, even in pubs and ranked, because for a while there was only like 5 or 6 actually usable characters. Now I think you can pretty much use just about everyone, maybe even Octane. I still think Octane's kind of bad, but he's pretty fun at least. Mobile respawn beacons are very interesting. I don't know how they're actually going to play out here in competitive, because typically in competitive, it's a cool idea for ranked, absolutely, in pubs. I definitely love the idea of it. I don't think it'll have much of an impact on competitive. I honestly feel the biggest place you'll see this in competitive is people calling them down and using them as cover, where there might not normally be cover. Because typically in competitive, if you want to res someone, if you can get out with the banner, it's usually not hard to get a res. You can go, you can run almost like out of zone early game to get a res, and most people are usually not there because they're trying to rotate to the center zone. So not sure how much it'll really affect competitive. Like I said, I could see some creative uses for using it as cover, though, similar to how people use the Lifeline drop package. Crypto Town Takeover. This new POI is freaking nuts. It's actually really cool. I love what they do with the effects of like the map. I think it's a really cool idea, and it's nice that everybody can see it as well. I think this is an insanely strong spot on the map, especially competitively. Lots of loot. You have a charge tower, and those are actually play a pretty big role. But obviously the biggest one is you can see all the teams around you. You know, you can do a scan, you can see if there's a team near you, maybe even force a fight on them if there's no team around you, around either of you, and you have a lot of good loot. It's a really cool idea, and I like that they're innovating with a lot of newer POIs. There's always something unique about the POIs, and that's new, and I really like that. I like how they do that. Super cool POI. Great addition to King's Canyon, I think. Heirloom is whatever. I mean, it's cool heirloom, but I'm gonna get right to the content. Legend updates. Lifeline passive combat revive now replaces combat medic. Deploy Doc to revive teammates. Doc will deploy a shield and revive Lifeline's teammate, leaving Lifeline free to defend or revive someone else. This fully replaces Lifeline old passive, including fast heal. The tactical being cooldown lowered to 45 seconds, and the ultimate now being containing 3 times more small healing items if you get healing items, and then 2 times more attachments. So this is a very controversial one, obviously. A lot of people really liking the solo fast heal gameplay, but I actually super agree with this, and I want to shed some light on this because I see a lot of misinformation. I see a lot of people upset about this change. Lifeline's obviously meant to be a combat medic. She's meant to be a support, and I think her passive partnered with her hitbox, her very small hitbox, she basically was the go-to, I'm not playing Wraith, so I'm gonna play another kind of solo character. Lifeline was more of a solo character than an actual team character, because a lot of players opted to just kind of do whatever they want because they have the fast heal, that 25% fast heal. And whereas I admit I picked Lifeline a lot for that reason, I think almost everybody did. I see a lot of people upset about this change overall because people are saying, hey, nobody really asked for this, when I feel like almost there's a lot of people that were asking for a Lifeline rework, or rather they're asking for a buff. But the reason they didn't just straight up buff Lifeline, give her like that res shield and the current res shield now on top of the fast heal, is there's a lot of dev commentary on Twitter talking about how Lifeline, I believe Carlos Pineda was the one who may have tweeted about this, but he said that Lifeline's in a weird spot because even though people want her to have her abilities even be usable, let's be real, nobody really ever used her ult. Barely anyone ever really used her Q. They just opted to heal anyways. Even though nobody used her 2 abilities and everybody wanted her to get buffed and changed, she already had one of the highest win rates across all skill levels, not just across the tryhard Apex Predator Master skill level. She had one of the highest win rates across all legends, across all skill levels. And that was just having a small hitbox with fast heal. So I definitely agree that they couldn't just give her even better abilities, because then she would be even stronger. And definitely don't. And I've talked to people on Twitter about that. I've rebutted some arguments, and some people were like, well, what about Gibraltar? They did the same with Gibraltar. And my retort to that is, do you really want another Gibraltar? Like, Gibraltar was obviously very busted. He's still strong. I don't think he's busted anymore. I think he's in a good spot. But do you really want to have another Gibraltar? I don't understand. So I think they really did a really good job. I think people are underestimating how strong this buff is. Lifeline is insanely annoying to push now in ranked games and pub games, just because they get a free shield that they can work around with. Doesn't even matter about the res. She literally poops out a free shield that she's able to use herself to either heal herself or to use it as in and out jiggle, peek, and cover. Obviously the cooldown on the Q is a good idea. I like it. And then the care package now containing more items. It's a good change. Now you can get up to like 6 shield cells or 6 syringes, which is really good actually. It's a good change because the problem with Lifeline's care package is it's so RNG. You can't count on anything being there, be it the armor, attachments, or the healing. So anything now, it changed it a little bit more too. Obviously, if you get attachments or if you get small healing, obviously you get more of it. Now, I still think one of the big reasons this ultimate's a bit lackluster is because knockdown shields can spawn in it, and I think that really hurts the feasibility of her ultimate, like hard. Nobody, by the time you get your ultimate, you typically already have a knockdown shield. A decent, might not be purple, but nobody's calling down this ultimate to get a knockdown shield. I think if they took that out, then it would feel really good, but that's just me. Overall, I really like where Lifeline is now. She's really strong, like I said, in ranked. I'm theory crafting in my head some comps for her in competitive, but I definitely don't think she'll be meta. But like I said, we'll get to all of that in a sec. Octane tactical, upon activation, Stim will remove movement impairing effects. Stim sprinting speed is increased by 10%. Ultimate, players can now double jump in midair after using Octane's launch pad. Players can change direction easily from the double jump. Now, previous to this buff, I thought Octane was the worst character in the game. I still kind of do. Now, these are good changes. He's actually really fun to play now. The sprint speed is super fast, and it's actually a blast to play with. You can really catch people off guard with how fast you can really push them. The double jump, I would like to see more air control or like more momentum. Like when you double jump, I was expecting like you would get a little bit more of a boost as well. Like sometimes it almost feels like the double jump will actually just end up killing you, because depending on when you do it, you can easily lose a lot of your momentum. It's not the change I wanted to see for Octane personally, but what are you gonna do? I still think he's not that great of a character, but it definitely is a lot more fun now for pubs and stuff like that. Definitely won't be seeing him in competitive, pretty sure. Now, the big one, Revenant. This is a big one.
That's the sweet aroma.
Especially as a Revenant fan myself. I have a lot of thoughts about Revenant. I'm gonna save this until I talk about the competitive meta, because he is the big question mark for everybody. Crypto, tactical, deploying hack, Crypto's drone now takes 1.5 seconds from 2.5 seconds. Ultimate EMP now disables Watson pylons. I thought Crypto was in a pretty good place. I was surprised to see him get a buff. I know most people are probably thinking, well, he's not really all that picked. Is he really in that great of a place? I think Crypto was a really good hero, or legend, sorry. I think he was a really good legend regardless. I think the only reason people didn't really pick him is just because he's a risky pick. He's hard to play around. Your team needs to know how to play around a Crypto just as well as your Crypto needs to know how to position. So this one's can be a little bit rough. The EMP now disabling Watson's pylons is interesting, because previously, at least competitively, obviously if you're playing Crypto against ranked, that's good, but honestly this could almost be seen as a nerf competitively, because I know the few Crypto teams that ran Crypto or tried it, 6 being one of them, one of the Yeet Squad winner Summer Circuit 1 winner recently. Six's team, old team, used to run crypto, and their ideology was he would replace Watson. So their game plan was basically find where teams are locking down as Watson. They ult the Watson, so it gets rid of all her fences. Obviously does all the damage, and then the team pushes in, cleans up. And they liked the fact that the EMP did not destroy Watson pylons, because that means they could get away with not playing Watson and still have a Watson pylon. So they basically use crypto to take other Watson's pylons from them. So it could be seen as a nerf. Obviously, it is very strong against the average pub and ranked player that's playing Watson. It's a very good counter. But competitively, almost hinders him, but obviously he's still being picked. People aren't necessarily going to pick him just for that. That's a pretty niche strategy though, but obviously it is still very strong, that the fact that he can do that. I'm pretty all right with it. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing crypto, but I'd never want to be in a hard crypto meta, only because I feel like the game would turn into Overwatch. Just pushing with EMPs would be really, really annoying and really frustrating. But overall, I do like crypto a lot as a character. Loba, tactical. Burglar's best friend will no longer be intercepted by Watson's interception pylon. That's a pretty decent change. I was pretty surprised to see that it did actually work like that before. And then the ultimate, Black Market Boutique, will now only pick up 1 stack of ammo rather than 1 stack plus the amount that was required for whatever partial stack you had in your inventory. That's a good change. Ultimate Accelerant now gives 20% ult charge, up from 17.5. Good changes, but definitely not the ones I wanted to see for Loba. I wanted to see just her Q being better, more user-friendly. Not user-friendly, rather, but just less restrictive, I guess would be a better way to put it. The reason Loba is just not that good right now is because you throw her Q out, not only are you committed to the Q, you have to, like, you don't have that option to take it or not. You can't run, you can't reload, you can't heal, you can't do anything. You're kind of just stuck there until you teleport to it. I think when Loba was coming out and people heard of her abilities, a lot of people were expecting her to be similar to Sombra from Overwatch, where you throw her out her little thing, and then you can do whatever you want, and then you have the option to teleport it to it. If Loba was like that, she would be insanely strong, even potentially a meta pick. That might be a little bit too strong for Apex, but I was hoping it would be something a little bit less restricted. Her Q is just, there's a good chance you can die using her Q, and that's, I feel like, counterintuitive to what it's actually supposed to do. I would love to see her be buffed a little bit more, at least on her Q. Overall, still good changes. Definitely the ammo change was really, really annoying, or the way it was before, using that 1 out of 2 charges to grab a stack of ammo where you couldn't even get a full one was really annoying. Mirage, tactical. You can now hold the tactical button and release to auto-control decoys. Decoys will now save lines when shot. Passive, when cloaked, Mirage's hollow emitters will be visible to players that are less than 5 meters away. Skydive will now create decoys for the entire squad when skydiving. This one's actually kind of trippy. These we've been bamboozled by a couple of scrim teams, myself personally, when we've been playing competitively from Matt Pickett or some of the other Mirages, the very few Mirages that play. That one can be really annoying. It can really literally bamboozle you and kind of incite a knee-jerk reaction from your team where you wouldn't want it. Could kind of scare you off from a spot, because imagine, you could look at it eventually, but imagine, dropping on a spot with another team, and then you can literally decoy 2 squads that are also coming with you. So it looks like there's 3 teams dropping with you. That's pretty scary, and that'll cause most teams to go off, or to veer off to another place. I'm surprised they nerfed his passive. It was strong for sure, but I didn't think he was like meta or busted by any means. The Mirage tactical definitely is a good change. I like Mirage now. He's in a good spot where he is definitely usable. He's a fun character to use. I've seen a lot of people, even high-level players, getting bamboozled by his ults now. It can be pretty easy to spot, but if you are smart and use it in the right time, there's been some pretty funny clips that come from Mirage. I like where he is at now, though. Gibraltar, fast heal granted inside the dome shield slowed down 25% faster to 15% faster. That's a good change. I think Gibraltar's in a really good spot now. He's very strong. He's a very good legend to pick for a 3v3 comp, whether it's pubs, ranked, or competitive. So I like where he's at now. I don't think he's overly busted. I think he feels pretty good to use. Caustic, enemies can cancel Caustic's barrel by shooting it before it's fully inflated. That's good. I would still like to see a little bit more on Caustic. I would like to see, I still think it's kind of dumb how it's the only ability. Well, now I guess Loba is also a bit of an exception, but Caustic has one of the only abilities in the game now that Watson Pylon doesn't eat. So if you're in one of those Kings Canyon houses, you know, you're kind of just looking out windows shooting, and then all of a sudden there's a caustic that throws a barrel through your window. If you don't shoot it in time, I think it's kind of silly that the Pylon doesn't cancel it or doesn't shoot it out, down, because his gas can literally destroy all of the, if you don't know, because my boy O Nocturnal on Team Liquid did not know this up until literally like I think yesterday when I recorded this. The caustic gas does destroy Watson fences and her ult, so I'm very surprised that it doesn't shoot the barrels down. But overall, good change for sure. This is really, caustic felt very overly oppressive before. It felt like he's meant to be a defensive legend where it's really difficult to push on him. That people were abusing caustic in terms of being able to just throw barrels into houses and whatnot, and actually using him as an offensive legend, which I'm pretty sure he's not intended to be. And he was definitely really strong and annoying to play against. So good change for sure. Gives you a little bit of counterplay. I still would like to see maybe like barrels could be shot no matter what, but that might render him a little bit too useless. I don't know. He's still pretty strong though. Definitely not going anywhere in the meta. Watson. The intent of these changes is to create openings where enemies can breach Watson positions. Yada yada yada. Watson pylons now last for 90 seconds. Watson can now have up to 3 pylons out at a time. And she can stack 2 ultimate accelerants per inventory slot. These are actually some pretty good changes for Watson. It doesn't render her useless or take her out of the meta. She's still very strong and she's still very desired. I love how they put like the little ring around the Watson pylon as well. I think it's a very smart change, so you don't have to sit there and count out 90 seconds or use the timer on the side of your screen. Very smart. Really do like these changes. Not really sure if you'll ever really have 3 pylons out at a time, but the 2 ultimate accelerants is also very big. Now you can kind of be an ultimate accelerant mule for your team. You know, carrying 4 accelerants around, for example, 2 slots for 4 accelerants is actually pretty big for late game, especially when, you know, your Wraith might need her portal or Gibraltar might need his ult, or if Watson needs her own. I think this effectively, because she can carry so many accelerants, I think it effectively didn't really change much on Watson, but except for the cheesiness of sitting in a building for probably like literally 5 minutes and just not losing any armor because of it. Obviously now if you are sitting in a building and you're shooting at people, if you get chipped at all, now the question is, do I use my pylon, you know, from the Watson. She's still, I believe, if without a helmet, thank you Jamerson, I think it was, for these numbers, without a helmet, Watson's recharges by the time her ult dies. Her ult does continually charge as well, so by the time the ult dies, I think she still gets 51% of her ult back without helmet. I think with a gold helmet it's like 63% or something like that. So not a big change. It's just the question now, like, you know, do I commit the pylon and try to regen our shields instead of just AFKing and healing all the shields all the time? Good change, not out of the meta by any means. Wraith, another controversial one. Anytime you touch the fan favorite Wraith, oh boy, people are gonna have a big issues about this one. Phase walk now takes 1.25 seconds to enable, was 0.4 seconds. That's the animation time to go into the phase walk. During this time, Wraith will receive a 20% move slow. This does not affect phase walk while placing a phase portal. That's a good thing. I'm glad they didn't actually do that. While on phase walk, Wraith now gets a 30% move speed boost. While in phase walk, Wraith can see other players while in the void. Phase walk now lasts 4 seconds, up from 3. Phase walk cooldown is now down to 25 seconds from 35. Phase tunnel, decreased distance for portal placement by 25%. I was very surprised to see people complain about this. All of this changes on Wraith is you can't use it as in, oh shit, get out of jail freak button. Well, actually, I didn't even realize they literally said it right here. All this stops is players from going, oh my god, I just wide swing and peeked 3 players. I'm just gonna press my Q and get out. You know, you can't do that anymore. You have to be a little bit more smart about the way you push. Wraith, I feel like Wraith's intent was always to be a character where you have to be smart about positioning, and she's a bit sleuthy, so she can get to different positions. But I really like the new phase walk. It's really weird to get used to how long you are in it when you are, you know, trying to shoot a Wraith that's in it. But I think it's really good. Aside from how long it takes to actually activate, I think it's a really good, I mean, the move speed boost is really good. The being able to see players in the void, all of this is really good. On top of it, it's up to 25 seconds now. Now you can, you know, you can position yourself way smarter. Before, you used to have to kind of like calm to your team, like, am I good? Am I going to be safe coming out of my queue sometimes? And like those times where you weren't really sure. Now you can see everybody, and you can easily get away from everybody too. 4 seconds at 30% move speed is huge. So I think it's she's really fun now in terms of getting the right position on people, using it less as an oh shit button and more as a well, I didn't really enter the fight from the angle I wanted to. I'm gonna use this Q and get out and try to get out a different position rather. Now, the one caveat to her phase walk lasting 4 seconds from 3 seconds, obviously this is mostly above, but for the people that this is a bit of a tidbit, I guess, for you if you're playing against a Wraith, which you obviously will be. Take advantage of the time that she's in her queue. One of the reasons the Wraith phase walk in general could always be a bit of a hindrance to her team that people didn't really talk about is if you use the phase walk once you get blasted by a team, that means that that team with the Wraith that just phase walked is in a 2v3 basically. So a lot of smart teams would use that time to just push everybody else that's left on that Wraith's team and then focus the Wraith after they down the other two or something. So now that Wraith's phase walk lasts 4 seconds, you have to be careful if you're the Wraith. You have to make sure maybe communicate to your team to get back a little bit. Don't be so aggressive because you can't help them for the next 4 seconds at least. Subsequently, if you are the enemy team, take advantage of Wraiths that are phase walking out for 4 seconds. And don't be afraid to push their team because they can't do anything. You're at a 2v3 for solid 4 seconds. That could be all you need to win a fight. So overall, I like the changes on Wraith. I don't think it was much of a nerf as much as it was just a rework. I agree with their sentiment, kind of wanting Wraith to not be just like the overall rotational character. It kind of sucks for comp, but I think it'll make things a little bit more interesting and people have to think about the way they play a little bit more. Wraith was a very big crutch. I think technically every character you pick competitively is a crutch. You're crutching on their abilities to smooth out the RNG of everything else that BR has to offer. So when I say crutch, I don't mean in like a bad way, but every character is a team crutching in some form, which is again not a bad thing. Zip lines, another super controversial one, and this one kind of surprised me as well. I don't think this change feels as bad as people think it does. I personally am a fan of them taking out the horizontal zipline jump spamming thing that people did, because that wasn't a big movement skill gap. That was literally pressing your jump button and your interact button. How was that skillful at all? That was more annoying than anything. It allowed, I think, any type of player to get away from a situation where normally they wouldn't. So I like the change on that. The one change I don't like the change, or at least initially when I read it, I didn't like the change when it came to the vertical bounce, the zip bouncing, because that was actually really fun to do. But even though it doesn't say it here, you basically get 3 zipline touches and then the cooldown starts and it resets once you hit the ground again. Thank you. I'm assuming all of you said bless you out there. Appreciate it. But no, I think, yeah, so you get 3 basically free zipline bounces and then you can't touch the zipline anymore. So you could still do a lot of the vertical bouncing from like one floor to the next in buildings in like World's Edge, stuff like that. I don't think this nerfs the movement in terms of the vertical zipline as bad as some people think. But I'm personally a fan of the horizontal zipline jumping being taken out. I thought that was just super cheesy. So personally, I think it's a good change. I don't like a lot of people complain about movement mechanics. The more you take out, the less fun it is. You're not wrong, but also with an asterisk, because I think cheesy mechanics cheesy mechanics are lame. All the very good players should be glad that this is being taken out, because that means if you are better than the other team, then you're more likely to kill them now, rather than them just running away zipline jumping. Havoc rifle, greatly increased horizontal recoil and the initial shots of burst, decreased mag size from 32 to 28. Yeah, this one's interesting. It still feels like it hasn't changed too much. It feels relatively easy to control after like the first 3 bullets. But overall, I've liked to start the gun a lot. I don't know, something just feels obviously very different about it. I don't think it's very strong. At this point, I think I would prefer to take it's not a bad early game weapon because you still get 28 shots. It still hits hard. The hip fire is still pretty decent, but I think I'd still prefer at this point like a flatline or an R3 over it in terms of the rifle category, or the scout, because it's also a rifle. Yeah, I think it's still all right. It can still super beam, but I'm definitely straying away from it personally. Sentinel. Those of you that watch my stream a lot know I absolutely love this gun. Rechamber time 1.75 to 1.6, so it made it faster to rechamber the next shot. And then energized duration another 30 seconds. That's a whole 2 minutes. I love these changes personally. I think the Sentinel feels so good right now. I don't think it's like super meta. It's not like you know, longbow meta. It's not like scout meta by any means, or charge rifle meta. But I think I get a lot of flack from this, but I think a lot of players are starting to also be turned on to how good the Sentinel is. I used to love using the gun just because of how good it felt to use it, but I do genuinely think it's very good. Again, not necessarily top tier meta, but Sentinel R9 is now one of my, or Sentinel Prowler is one of my most newfound favorite combos to run. I absolutely love running it. I think this gun is actually super strong. I mean, you hit every low profile character in the body for 74. Headshots are crazy. It's really good. It's a really good gun for charging up evos, and I really like the energize, the whole charging it up with shield cells. Now it lasts for you can literally charge that up and have it sitting on your back. For those that don't know, you can put the gun away and it's still, the energized duration is still running. You can take the gun back out and you'll have the charge shots, the disruptor shots, if you will, ready to go for a whole 2 minutes. Like, that's actually huge. I mean, you crack this is massive against red armors. If you know a team has red armors and your gun's already charged, that's big. They take a shot and they get hit for 125. That's gonna make anyone panic. I love the Sentinel. Like I said, anyone that watches my stream knows I love it. Definitely, if you haven't been using it, don't sleep on it. It's a very good gun. Quality of life. Teammates can outping a friendly caustic trap. New health bar for you. I actually like the health bar a lot for Revenant Shadow form. It's a lot more obvious now. Map rotation times are now even. That's fine. Bug fixes. Fixed an issue with some railings not being climbable. This is actually pretty big. If you didn't know, there's a lot of really annoying railings in the new Kings Canyon, both in like rig and salvage, that you couldn't climb up, and it was really freaking annoying. You can potentially thank O Nocturnal. I know he was complaining to the devs a lot about this because this would drive him up the wall. So thank him potentially for the change. I'm sure a lot of people will probably complain about it, but fixed an issue with being unable to mute squad before legend select. Okay, that's good. Removed more exploitable spots against Prowlers and Bloodhound. That's good. Fixed issues with loot spawning in unreachable places in both King's King and World's Edge. I don't know if that's like, I don't really know what this is referring to. If it's like the packages, or I'm not sure. Fixed issue with players being able to move, get walk speed when downed. Good. Fixed issue with Prowlers not killing Mirage decoys in one swipe. Fixed issues with Ninja control layout and death boxes. Fixed issue with you gotta try. Oh, this one was really annoying. This is probably the biggest change of them all. This thing was so annoying. But good bug fixes for sure. The railing one being definitely my favorite one. Fixed issue with Crypto's drone flying without input if the user started to sprint by use of double tap to sprint option. Don't know anything about that, never tried it, but hey, you're welcome, Crypto players. Actually, well, this is a pretty one. Fixed issue with not being able to heal after getting knocked and going through a Wraith portal. That was a very... I didn't get hit with that bug a lot, but I know a lot of Wraith players complain about it. Alright, so that leads me to the big kahuna question. What's up with Revenant? Tactical will now cancel Pathfinder mid-grapple, Wraith mid-phase walk attempt before it activates. Will now prevent Mirage cloaked revive, Mirage decoy control activation, and Lifeline combat revive. Ultimate range removed on Death Totem. Alright, if you... yeah, there we go. If you know me at all, I was a Revenant stan since he came out, even though I definitely know he was obviously very weak when he came out. The buff to give him double silence charges, I think, was definitely very good, and I think he could have been played around with some team comps. But he was... before, Revenant was definitely very kind of like, you had to think outside the box character with him. If you want to make him successful, if you wanted to use his ult, you really had to be creative with how you do it. Now, as I'm sure most of you know and have experienced, he's just kind of like a Papega hold W, just death ball with your team into another team with absolutely almost zero repercussions type character. So I definitely want to talk about Revenant here. I'm going to talk about what my feelings about him right now, what I think they could do to change him, because I definitely think he's a little too busted, and competitive meta. First and foremost, I think Revenant, the range being removed on Death Totem, as much as I've loved Revenant, I've always thought that when I read this, I was like, all right, this is a little wacky. I always thought maybe his totem would probably like be good at 100. I believe his range was 65 meters before. I always thought maybe at 100 meters cap would have been very good, because the problem with his ultimate before was it was a very long cooldown, and it was very easy to mess up the range on it. Like you know, if you're trying to push a team a couple houses away, you try to put it in a safe spot, and then you it realize you're like one house too short on the ult, and then you're like, well, this is useless. it being unlimited is just super, it takes the thought a lot about outside of pushing. So people can, as I'm sure you've seen, people can literally W key from like 25 seconds away because the totem requires, I think it's 30 seconds of death protection. You could literally place it what would take 25 seconds to run from, which is a long distance, and then just come back. Typically, if you go that far, though, there's always going to be someone waiting at your totem. So that's like the caveat there. But anyways, I think what's really strong about Revenant right now is because of the change to the health as well that they made a couple patches ago. If you use the totem, it gives everybody effectively, if you're all full health on your team, it gives everybody basically another 50 health, 150 health extra collectively, which already is really difficult to fight off of. The team basically has 150 free health over you. That's really, really difficult to fight off of. It's getting to the point where I'm sure you guys have all seen it. It's just crazy how easy it is to just put the ult down, all three of you take it, and you just tumble into another team that's fighting, and there's third party with almost zero repercussions. Or even if a team's close, you just pop it, you all jump into it, and then you have another extra 150 health collectively. I think one of the biggest things they can do to balance this out, the range being removed, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it maybe nerfed, but I think one really good change that would not make Revenant feel as bad is if they made the shadows drop and die from just 50 HP. If the shadows themselves just had 50 HP. So what that would do, meaning if you had full health and you took the shadows and then they destroyed your shadow, you'd go down to 50 HP. If you had 70 health going into the shadow form and then they killed your shadow, you would go down to 20 health. So I think what this does is it stops that, that awful safety net that wasn't there before. His ult before was if you were at 100 health and they shot you all the way down to nothing, then you came back with nothing. I think it's a good way to kind of give him still a little bit of that safety net regardless of what health he goes in, or rather it would just require a little bit more thought, and it doesn't give the team a free 150 health to just push and do whatever they want with. One of the reasons Revenant's shadow form is really hard to fight right now is if you don't have any mags on your guns, if you don't have like an R9 mag, or if you have like no bolt, if any shots you miss on a Revenant shadow clone is so much more painful for you than any normal character, because when you send them back they still get another 50 health. So they're doing so much more. The damage they do to you is so much worse than the damage you do to them. And like I said, if you don't have a mag or something, sometimes it can be easy to whiff. If you have to reload against a Revenant shadow clone, you're probably going to lose the fight overall because of how much damage they can do to you with almost little to no repercussion to them. So I think putting it to just 50 HP on the clones, you take 50 damage and then you're set back, I think would be really good. Then you could go back easily after one kind of half-ass massive shot, half an R9 mag. It takes 3 wingman shots to send a Revenant shadow form back. Like, think about that for a second. That's crazy. So wingman, if Revenant's meta, wingman feels terrible. It's not a good gun to use. It's just something needs to be done. I think that would keep him still very viable, but just you have to be a little bit smarter. Right now, literally, it's just you plop it down and then you just go, and there's no brain involved. So I think that would be a good change, personally. Now I'm going to shift to talking about the competitive meta, where obviously you're seeing a lot of scrims, you're seeing a lot of some tournaments. A lot of people are playing Rev. People on Twitter and streams complaining about how dog poop the meta is, but I really kind of want to address that thought a little bit. I see a lot of salt and a lot of people going, this is the worst meta ever, etc., etc. I kind of disagree, only because I don't really think this is the meta. I'm not saying Revenant isn't meta, or couldn't be, but it's less than a week into this patch and everybody is still just learning things. To all the people that are complaining about scrims being awful, scrims have always been awful. Scrims have never been representative of what a tournament is actually like. So it's the first week, and this is the first time ever in Apex, since Apex Legends inception, that we see a massive potential meta shift in just allowing more feasible and viable characters. You're seeing Revenants, you're seeing Cryptos, you're seeing some Lifelines, on top of already all the other meta characters, some bloodhounds. Everybody is just trying to learn what works. Everybody is trying to test everything as much as they can before actual tournaments get here. So I really don't agree that this is the meta. If you want my honest opinion, I think we'll either see the meta shift back to what it was a little bit more. I still think Revenant's going to be strong. People are going to use him. Crypto maybe as well, but I still think the meta is going to shift a lot more back to what it was with the standard Wraith Pathfinder Watson, Wraith Jibby Watson, or Caustics as well. We'll throw Caustic in there as well. If not this first big tournament, the second one, right? The first tournament I think people might use as a learning experience, and then after a while, if people really don't think it's going to work out, which I don't think this aggressive playstyle is going to work out, it almost never really does in BRs. There's going to be a select few teams that can make Revenant work really well, but most teams I think are going to go back to the standard playstyle that they know. We've already seen it. I think Rogue won the Esports Arena tournament pretty decently with Wraith Pathfinder Watson. That comp is still good. All those comps are still good, and the more people play these comps, the better those are, because then you don't even have to worry about fighting. Just take center zone and third party them as they come in, or try to keep them as they come in. So to all the pros out there complaining, I don't think this is the meta shift. This is what it's going to be. I do think Revenant's a little strong, but I don't think you're going to see every tournament you're going to see a million Revenants just ulting each other. Eventually, I think it's going to die down and people are going to play what's safe. That's just kind of how I feel. I've seen a lot of games do massive meta shifts and people get worried and complain a lot the first week, but these things tend to die down after a while. Once people either go change the way they play to go back to where they were, or people learn how to start countering Revenant. Again, I do think he's a little bit strong. See all the things I literally just talked about, but I don't think this is a massive meta shift where in ranked, things probably won't change. You'll probably see a lot of Pepega Revenants in ranked. I'm strictly talking competitive meta right now. I don't think it's as bad as people are complaining about. Like I said, I think everyone is just trying to learn what's good and just experimenting. Scrims are never indicative of how the competitive meta actually is played. I don't know why people are so emotional about that. But like I said, you will see Revenants. I don't think you'll see, as the next couple of weeks move on, I don't really think you'll see them all that often, as much as you are now. So that's just a couple of my thoughts. Maybe I eat my words, who knows? But I've seen this kind of thing happen in a lot of different games like Dota and other MOBAs or hero-based games. Typically these big meta shits, everyone's just trying something new, and then eventually they revert back to what they know already works. So overall, really good, man. I think this patch is, this is what, to me, if you've been in any of my streams, heard me talk about season 4 and season 5. I've loved all of the seasons. Each season that's come to us, I've loved more than the season before it. I think every season has brought some pretty good changes. But the one thing that to me felt like it was missing since season 4 was just a big meta shift with Legends, or just big buffing on Legends. I'm a big fan of buffing the heck out of Legends and then maybe reeling them back a little bit once maybe they're a little bit too busted. Because I just want to see, I don't care for every character being competitive in competitive, you know. I don't care to see like Octane. I'm not saying every character has to be in the competitive meta, but it's just nice to, now we are in an era of Apex where we can actually pick almost any character and still be useful for ranked in pubs, versus before you were just trolling if you didn't pick, you know, like the top 5. So overall, I think really good patch. I think it breathed a lot of life into this season. Not that it was missing any all that much. Excited to see how this entire patch and meta plays out on World's Edge, which should be coming in the next couple of days as of the recording and release of this video. So I'm super excited, man. I mean, I think Apex is in a really good spot right now. A couple changes here and there to a lot of the aforementioned things, and I think the game would feel even better. But hope you guys enjoyed this patch analysis and a little bit on the comp meta. All I'm saying is don't listen to the complainers out there. Lifeline is still really strong. I don't think the Revenant meta is going to hold as much. It will die down. I cross my T's and dot my I's. I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty sure it's going to die down. But maybe I eat my words, like I said, who knows. Thank you guys for watching. Please, if you stayed throughout the entire video, or you're just watching like kind of like this part, definitely leave a like if you liked it. Hit that subscribe. Definitely trying to grow my YouTube as much as possible. The more it grows, the more content I'm definitely going to put out. I have a lot of ideas for things. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments if you did, or in my streams at twitch.tv/hodsic. But for real, thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something or gained any valuable information out of it. See ya.